Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday Junior. Don't say we don't do nice things for you. And if the green room conversation is anything to go by, you guys are in for a treat. Welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. Here we go, people, in association with our good friends at the Gooners podcast. Boom! All right, there's a ton of squaddies in live chat already, but we're going to have to do the introductions real quick. We have 1 hour of a super fast-paced show here with some legends tonight. Let's kick off with my podcast sister from another mister, Amanda. Welcome back to the show.
Good evening, everyone.
We have our very good friend, Mr. Magic Mike, labeled by Super Kevin Campbell as Magic Mike. It's Stark from the Gooners podcast and the founder of Gooners versus Cancer. Welcome, Super Magic Mike. I love the Stars and Stripe Dickie Bow Thursday,
Dickie
mate.
Bow
Thursday, yes. Dickie Bow Thursday, and what a great Thursday it is because I am chatting with one of my absolute most adored people in the world, Rebecca Lowe, and also, Amanda. But it's fantastic to be on.
What you've dropped Super Kev. He gave you he's made you a legend, and you've dropped him.
He's magic. No, trust me, he's magic. So he could drop me.
He gave me that nickname, and I've just zoomed right past. I mean, come on.
Okay. Also back is my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kev, Super Kevin Campbell.
Oh, hey, listen. There's been problems already with this Rebecca Lowe already. I'm telling you, her husband, that husband of hers, there's trouble. Hi, Rebecca. How are you doing? You're right.
Arguing.
Hello, my lovely. I'm good. It's so lovely to be here. Sorry, I'm interrupting, Sophie. Sorry. Carry on.
No. Let's introduce the legend that is. She's an English rose. She's become America's sweetheart. She's a legend. She's a leader. She's an inspiring woman for women, for men. She's changed football here. Her dulcet tones every weekend. They embrace us. They hug us. We love her more than anything in the world. Welcome, NBC, the voice of football in the United States, Miss Rebecca Lowe.
Boom.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. So thank you. What a lovely introduction. And thank you, Mike, as well. And it's lovely to see Kev and Amanda and you, and just lovely to be here. Thank you for that.
And we beat your team last night. I'm not going to mention it.
It's Roy's day. It was Roy's day. Would you have some heart? All right, he's like 75. Would you let him have a little moment? We're not interested in the full-time score. We're only interested in Roy's little walk through his guard of honour. Bless his little heart.
We respect Roy, but we also beat you.
Right. We love Roy, and listen, it's the first time we've beaten them in a long time, but let's give Crystal Palace and Roy credit. If it wasn't for Roy, Crystal Palace might be in the Championship right now. Let's just hope you don't get Frank Lampard as your next manager.
No comment.
Listen, we've got a ton of people in live chat. We've got a lot happening. Mike, I'm going to hand over to you right now because our special guest is actually in the green room, and neither Kev nor Rebecca know who this is. So I'm just going to hand it over to you because why not bring him in? Let's love that he's got that English punctuality, by the way, a few minutes early.
You've already narrowed the field of possible people down by 50% by using the him pronoun. But look, we've talked a lot on both of our podcasts recently about, Hector Bellerin. Should Arsenal sell him? Who should we have it right back? I know who I would want it right back, and this is the man. He's got the best middle name possible. My son Jake hears his dulcet tones on FIFA 21 way too many hours out of the week. He's got 2 brand new knees, and he's as spry as ever. Welcome. To the joint podcast. That's not a good time for me to go blank. He's got 2 brand new knees, and he's here with us.
I think everyone knows it's Dixon.
I literally just made that. Look.
That's a good job as well, mate. That's a good job.
Oh my god.
Lee is very nifty with the scissors, as I found out. Lee helped ship some stuff to us for the Gooners versus Cancer charity. He pulled out the scissors on the last podcast we did. He's a packing extraordinaire. So look, you have so many talents in case football ever goes away.
Look at all these friends. Look.
Hello, friend.
Good.
Hello, Bex.
Hi, Lee.
Hey,
Hi, Sophie. Jeff Campbell. Rubbish Campbell.
Rubbish Campbell. That was Amanda in the East Upper.
Look at you. Look at them, Rebecca.
Oh,
look at these fellas right here, Rebecca. Look at them.
What are you wearing, Kev?
What is that outfit,
Excuse
Kev?
me.
What
So
is that?
Versace.
Hold on a minute.
I think it's going clubbing.
Hold on. What do you think it is? We were celebrating. What do you think it is?
Right.
No, what you were wearing.
Did you hear what I just said?
Kev,
What was I wearing?
Came out with the best gear when we'd won something. It was in the winning cupboard. It just opened the cupboard.
Flamboyant. You can't be flamboyant. Can't be just normal.
No, of course not.
Oh my God. Well, there's style, Lee, and there's style, and then of course there's this, which is a bit dodgy. Let's be honest.
Right. That
on this one, Rebecca.
On the wig. Yeah, the red wig.
It's dreadful.
Hey, Rebecca, keep it shut. That was quality at the time. Again, that was after a win. That was
at the
after
time in the
trophy.
60s.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Kevin, can I just say one thing? When over the last 10 or so years, I've heard you on TalkSport as a guest, and you are like nothing like you are in real life. This Kevin Campbell is my Kevin Campbell. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what is going on?
You should see the man at the pub. I mean, it's a whole different.
Oh, it's
story.
even worse. It's even worse.
Love it.
I call it better.
Hey, Bex,
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I've got a picture prep for everything. Did you just say man at the pub, Mike? That's you and us. Yeah.
Oh,
Man Magic. Me and Magic.
It's the wrong pub. It's the wrong pub, and I don't know what that hair is all
isn't it?
about. But yeah.
All right. Well, listen, welcome everyone. We're so happy to have Rebecca and Lee here and Kevin. This is your show. You get to ask anything, and we're going to start with a question from a very special Gooner in the United States. I'm going to bring her in right now, and everyone in live chat will get to you as well. But let's welcome the very special Jessica to the show. Jessica, welcome.
That's it. Move that way.
I'm having camera problems in here.
Oh, hello, Jess.
Hi, Jessica. Hi.
Yes.
Hi, Rebecca. Lee.
You're not going to cry, are you? Sorry, Jess. I had to.
You know, you didn't actually, Mike. And let me tell you, it is very healthy to be connected with your feelings.
I agree. I cry every moment I'm not on the podcast. I'm constantly crying.
Jessica, you've got the floor. What do you want to ask Bex and Lee and Super Kev?
Okay.
I should say Dicko. See, I'm doing nicknames for everyone. Bex, Dicko, and Super Kev.
Dicko.
Okay. I have a question for all three of you to go through, and let's see. We'll go around. We all know well Ian Wright and the influence he had from his teacher. How that teacher changed his life, and then his second mentor would be Rocky, right? So both of those people changed his outlook and essentially saved his future and gave us the righty that we know and love. So for the three of you, who was that kind of an influence for you that made you who you are, whether it was on the pitch or behind the mic on the TV, whatever it is, who mentored you like that?
Go on, Rebecca. Ladies first.
Well, I guess that's an amazing question, first of all. And yeah, I do love that story. And I've watched it a million times, that moment where they get Mr. What's his name? Mr.
Start with a P.
Pigeon or Pigott or yeah. Anyway, when he comes down the stand at Mr. Pigott, yeah, when he comes down the stand at Selhurst Park and like Rice is just sitting there, and, oh my God, it gets me every single time. So I love that. I think I'm probably in a more privileged position in that I've never sort of had to have that much help. I've been super, super lucky in my life, but I have had help over the years. And I think that a number of people have helped me. Like not as dramatic as what happened to Righty, of course, but my career was kind of not going where I wanted it to go about 10 years ago. And I was working at ESPN in the UK, and I was kind of thinking, I think I'm done. I just come back from Everton against Tottenham, and Harry Redknapp had sworn at me, and David Moyes got really angry at me just for asking questions and just being alive. And I just remember coming home. I mean, it was just when Redknapp was going to get the England job. And do you remember he was linked to the England job? And then Tottenham just went like that. And I was having to ask him, like, do you think the England job had any link? And he told me to effing be careful. So I remember getting home from that game in about 2012, I think it was, and saying to my husband or my fiance at the time, like, I think I might be done. And then I get a call out of the blue because Ray Stubbs, who I was working with at ESPN, had, unfortunately for him, had to have a heart operation, like really quite very last minute. And it was coming up to the FA Cup final. And my boss called me and said, Ray's got to go into hospital. He can't present the FA Cup final. We want you to do it. And this was Chelsea-Liverpool and in 2012. And it was one of those moments, Jess, when I sort of had to hold on to something quite close. So I was going to fall over through sheer terror, but also shock. I mean, I thought they were just going to skip me over and go for Mark Chapman or one of the other guys who've been working for ESPN. And I sort of, obviously I said, yeah, absolutely. I'll think about this later, how terrified I am. But yeah, absolutely, I want to do it. And I think that moment changed my life because doing the FA Cup final, pitch side, 8 hours at Wembley was so difficult. And I managed to get through it. And I think that gave me the confidence to think, maybe I don't want to give up on this. Then a few months before that, the Fabrice Mwamba situation had happened. And I was live on pitch side with that, with John Barnes and Kevin Keegan. And those two moments had been recognised by my boss at the time. His name's Andrew Hornet, used to work for ESPN, now works for Amazon. And I think his faith in me changed the trajectory of my career. And actually, when lockdown happened last year, I phoned him and told him that, because I think we all get so caught up in our lives, you never have a moment to reflect. And I had this time last lockdown, March 2020, and I just thought, I need to thank him, because I don't think NBC would have hired me. I don't think I would have even felt I was good enough for NBC. I just don't think any of it would have happened. So I called him up last year and I said, it was down to you and thank you. So I would say from a career perspective, him, but also at the same time, my husband, because I didn't really have a lot of confidence in my 20s at all. I really didn't think the career was going to go anywhere. I didn't think it was going to last. I was just a bit fragile. And I met this man who did what I think every good husband or wife should do, every good spouse, and support their spouse no matter what, to the point at which he was managing Luton Town and he resigned to move to America to come with me for my dream. And again, how would I have had this life and this opportunity without somebody next to me, supporting me, loving me, helping me out? So like I say, they're not as dramatic as what Righty went through. And I'm blessed for that, because what he had to go through was a lot harder than what I did. But at those different junctions in my life, those two people for me have definitely changed it. Yeah.
Thanks. Can I just ask you one question? If you were living in America, would you have left America to go to Luton with Paul? No disrespect to you.
Difficult decision. I mean, California and Luton, very similar. So
amazing. Lee, what about you?
Well, I've got two people and completely opposite reasons. Firstly, my dad. He was a pro in the 50s, didn't make the first team at Man City, was a pro for 3 years, and then played really good amateur football as a goalkeeper. So we were always into football. So he literally went everywhere. He took me to every trial. He drove me through snow and all of the stories that a million kids and players have got the same. But when it's your own dad, that's the one that stands out. And he was, I think, what drove me to try and be better was I just wanted to please him. He was my hero. So if I made him smile, I didn't care about the manager, didn't care about my teammates to a certain extent. I was just, if my dad was on the sideline, I did something well, and I kind of look over. Even I remember looking for him when I was, playing at Arsenal, and I was a pro, not just as a kid. I remember doing something on the pitch, and the first person I'd look up to the stand, because I always knew where he was sitting. I always found out where his tickets were. He'd go to every game. I remember playing for Bury at York, which is a bit of a trek, I have to say. No, it wasn't York. It was Darlington. And it was a bit of a trek for him. It was snowing. And he goes, have you left my tickets? I said, yeah, Dad. I spoke to one of the directors, and he's, got your ticket in the director's box. So I came out for the warm-up, and I looked up in little stand at Darlington, and I was like, can't see him, and it's you're about 30 yards away, so you can see everybody. So I was looking up, and I was like, "The dad's not in there," and I was like, "Where the hell is he? He must be late." So anyway, I carried on warming up, and as I was warming up, the lads heard this little voice going, "Lee," like and I turned around, and they'd put him in a little cage with all the away fans, and he was basically caged in behind. He had his face up against the railings, and he was like, I don't think much of the director's box. Like, oh my God. And I thought, we actually won the game, and I remember running up to him, celebrating. He looked like he was in jail. But he went everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and followed me, and I just wanted him to smile and enjoy my career, and we did. We enjoyed it together. The other person, the complete opposite of that, was, and he's dead now, bless him, but it was John Bond, who was manager of Burnley when I was first signed pro, and he came to the club and got rid of a load of the young players, and I was one of them. And the way he discarded me as a basically a piece of rubbish, he threw me in the bin and didn't do it in a particularly thoughtful way to give a young player who'd been a pro for 6 months a free transfer, and just he didn't even look at me in the eye, and he just told me to go away and find myself a club. And he inspired me to. I looked at him and I went, do you know what? I'm going to go and find a club, and one day we will cross paths. And I was playing for Arsenal, and we drew Shrewsbury in the cup, and guess who the manager of Shrewsbury Town was in the FA Cup? Was John Bond. And I came off from the warm-up, and he was coming down the tunnel, and I was walking past him. And it would have been a great opportunity to give him the old big one and just look at him. And I just thought, you know what, I'm bigger than that. And I walked past, and I went, all right, boss. And I just walked past him, and he just went like that, and he looked at me. And that was it. That was enough for me to sort of prove him wrong. So two different ends of the spectrum, really.
John Bond and Michael Jordan's high school basketball coach have two things in common. They cut loose somebody way before they probably should have. But Kev, your response to that to Jessica's action. Great.
Well, I've got so many, Jess. Honestly, I've got that many. But if I'm going to mention probably two people, one is Mama Campbell, instilling all the right ethics, the right mentality, and just to push on and do what you need to do to make it, because it's coming from Brixton. It was so hard back then, in the late 70s and early 80s. It was difficult, and to have mum behind you, pushing you. Mum didn't come to see me till I was 18, play football, but she always was interested, which really made a difference to me. And the next one was Pat Rice. Going to Arsenal as a youngster at 12 years old, signing at 12, because you can only sign when you're 12. Having somebody like Pat Rice to shape you and develop you. And Dick, I would tell you, Pat Rice was hard as nails. But he shaped a lot of us youngsters coming through. He was such an important part of our progress. So, yeah, those two really. I could name a load more. The Rockies and Mickey Thomas, who was at the same school, and Paul Davis and all the guys. But I could be here all night.
Kev, do you remember Pat Rice in pre-season when he used to, every now and again we got split up into groups for the running sessions, and they put a couple of youngsters in with the senior players, and just to mix it up. And I can't remember the lad's name. He had ginger hair, and he was quite a runner, but he was struggling on this particular run, and Pat was running alongside him. I could see the lad had gone literally purple. He was so
exhausted.
Yeah, exhausted, and he was running along, and Pat was running alongside him, and the lad started to be sick, and he was like, he's slowing down, and Pat Rice was running alongside him going, "You keep that pace up, boy." And then
was it Perry Groves?
I was running behind him, and I was like, "Pat," and he goes, "Do not let that stick out your mouth." And I was like, "Oh my God."
Oh, geez. Swallow it.
So good. Well, Jessica, I know you're still at work. By the way, Jessica is a legend in herself, what she does for a living, and the comfort she brings to families who are going through really difficult times. Jessica is a hero to so many of us Arsenal folks here in the US and around the world too. So Jessica, I know you got to go back to work, We really appreciate you joining us, and I hope everything's good on your end today.
Yes, it is. It's been I'm not going to say the Q word, but you don't never say things are. You never say that around here. That kind of jinxes things. So you say that around nurses, they'll give you quite the glare. So
well, we appreciate and love you very much.
Great question as well, by the way.
Yeah, great question, Jess.
Yeah,
Bye,
brilliant.
Mom.
Well done, Jess. We love you.
Love you, Jess.
I can't believe I got to see all three of you. I mean, all six.
Yeah, don't worry about us. It's all right.
I'll see you sometime. Yeah.
Thanks to Jessica for joining us. I mean, yeah, she's got quite the job, so thanks to her. Right, I'm going to bring in another Gooner. This one has started an organization here in the US that is and has become quite phenomenal. It's actually gathered a lot like podcasts, people from all around the world, fans from all around the world. She was just recently featured in that fabulous NBC fan documentary. Tiffany Campo, welcome to the show.
Where is she? Hey,
Where's
Tiff.
your camera?
Come on, get your camera on.
Oh no!
Tiff, you can't.
Can you see me?
No.
Yeah, I see you.
Wow.
I see her.
Only
No,
God can see me.
can't
No,
see
the
her.
rest of us can. And if you can't see
Oh.
Tiffany, you're missing out, unfortunately.
Oh, Tiff,
So,
where are
I'm gonna
you?
I'm gonna go out and come back in.
All right, go
Okay.
out and come back in. In the
Let-
meantime,
let
I
me-
want to ask
can I
Rebecca
vamp?
a question. Go on. Yeah, go on, Mike. You jump in.
I was just going to vamp about Jessica. Obviously, Jessica has had an experience that not all of us have had to have gotten, and that is largely in part to the wonderful people at NBC. I know. I mean, I don't know exactly how it came to be, but Rebecca, I mean, you know what Jessica's been through and those fan fests. I just wanted to say, having been at the fan fest in DC, having seen the people in Boston and Austin and in all these different cities, I mean, NBC is bringing the Premier League to the U.S. in a way that had never been done before that. And that's why I was personally so excited to be able to share this pod with you, because, you and I'm talking about all of NBC, but through you as its basically face, you have brought the game to supporters in a way that, I mean, Fox didn't before that, ESPN. I mean, I don't mean to cast aspersions, but I mean, I think the recognition that you had to have authenticity, but you also had to make it something that they weren't just kind of eavesdropping on, but rather participating in, was recognized from the very beginning. And you do such a great job in making that, a reality, and Lee with the authenticity, you with the interaction. It's fantastic.
It's brilliant.
Can I just say quickly about because I'll have to say it at some point. I get it over and done with now to stop her blushing. But I've been in the game a long time. I retired 2002, so I doing this sort of stuff for a very long time. And without a shadow of a doubt, based on the show that Rebecca does, we get the good bit, the commentating bit when we're at the games. We get all the nice stuff. The guys in the studio work their tail off, and Rebecca runs that department like clockwork. And yes, all the people behind the scenes do all the help and everything. And as you said, Mike, she's the face of it all. And I've been in the game a long time, and without a shadow of a doubt, she's the best presenter I've ever worked with. Who can cope? Who can cope with absolutely everything? And if you spent 5 minutes, let alone 9 hours on that show, and I've done the long shift of a weekend where you do 4 live games and it's brutal, and then you do it again on the Sunday, and then you do a Monday night game. To do that week in, week out, she should be getting the best jobs, and she's got the best job now. So congratulations for the Olympics. They couldn't pick anybody better. She's the best. So
I'm watching the Olympics now.
Out now. I'm going to say something nasty about you.
Love it, Dicko. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's true as well. All my American friends say you're fantastic. We want you over here. When are you going to come back?
No, you cannot have her.
No, you can't have her.
We can't have her.
You can't have her.
They're
We're
fighting
keeping
over
her.
you now.
We're keeping her.
Oh, guys, I've got the zip up thing. I feel like zipping myself up. I'm like so embarrassed. Thank you, Dicko. You know I love you.
Rebecca,
Thank you
one of the main questions I want to encapsulate it because it's coming from everybody. You've broadcast in the UK, and that's the motherland. I think it's fair to say you and I miss home at certain times, but there's home comforts here in the States as well. You know, Mike is one of many, many fans that love and adore you. What does it mean to you to, you know, to kind of be the face of the Premier League in the United States? I mean, what you've done, Lee's right. I mean, I don't need to say anything else. What does it mean to you?
I feel it really deeply. So
I've never heard it before.
I know. That is one thing that I am never is speechless. I mean, to hear it, and I think that what Mike talked about with the fan fest, I don't think I really realised the reach that the show has and the love that people have for the show until we went out to all these cities, until we visited all these places, and we were turning up at 3 a.m. in Austin, Texas to start rehearsing, and there was already a line at midnight of people wanting to get in, and then you get them in, and everyone is so lovely. And going back to what I said in the previous question from Jessica, you know, I had similar to the John Bond situation. I had a person in my career who said to me 15 years ago, I don't see you as a presenter. You're just not a presenter. You're just a reporter and you'll never be good enough. And in fact, I've had quite a few people say that to me in my early years. And so I guess it takes you have to sit and have a moment where you reflect. And I'm nervous of always doing that. I'm nervous of stopping and being like, wow, look what I did, because it might end tomorrow. And we know TV's fickle and we know life is strange. So I had tried not to sort of sit in the moment too much. I remember interviewing Fergie a lot back when he was at United. I always used to try to make him do that. And he used to say to me, no, I'm on to the next. I can never, ever stop still and think about what I've done. I have to go for, not that I'm comparing myself to Fergie. Can I just say that?
But, United fans.
But in terms of a journey, I don't want it to end. I don't want anything to end. And so I don't want to just think too much. But the love that I feel from whether it's on Instagram or at FanFest or just you guys saying that, honestly, it means the world, because I don't think I ever thought this would happen. And now it has. It makes me a little bit speechless. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, thank you. I really, from the bottom of my heart, Dicko, I feel maybe I could just retire tomorrow and move back to Luton, because
No.
You keep it moving, because if you're going to retire, you come back to England, Rebecca.
No good deed goes unpunished, and you've done so well that we need you around. We need you to keep doing it. So, do we have Tiff sorted out?
I'm going to bring Tiff back in right here. Hey, Tiff.
There
she is.
Tiffany Campbell, a friend of yours, Sophie, but I claim her because we've been friendly for like 6 or 7 years. She's Wonder Woman, one of the key people in Arsenal America, who's helped the fan club grow, the supporters group, I should say. Yeah. Sorry, supporters group grow into what it is today, which is probably one of the larger ones in the U.S. for Premier League. One of the largest ones, if not the largest one in the world. You would know better than I would. But, on top of having 2 kids that are way older than they should be, considering Tiffany, but just a fantastic person, and thrilled to have you on this joint podcast with us.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here, aside from those technical difficulties. That's very unlike me. But yeah, my oldest son graduated from university yesterday.
Woo!
Congratulations.
He's on Aldi now.
I know. It must be the University of Preschool or something.
Yeah, University of what?
Tiff, you have the floor. You get to ask Bex, Dicko, and Super Kev anything you like. A master of the Arsenal tours when the team come to the United States. She has organised so much across many cities over the last few years. Absolutely brilliant, Tiff. What do you want to ask the guys?
So, I mean, I always have to put my my event planner hat on, right, and ask what it would take to get them to come to one of our events. I've begged Kevin on many occasions. I'm like, you're in Manchester. Can you even come to London? So, there's, recognition wise, like I just want to think about today. We can, everybody gets into like your time playing and when you started your career, but today, like what is the biggest thing that this sort of football opportunity has allowed you to get into that you're most proud of now, that you're doing now, that you probably wouldn't have been doing if not for football or if not for, running the gamut of reporting and trying to, reach the top of your field?
Oh, good job Kevin Lee didn't play for Tottenham, that's for sure.
Oi, don't even mention that on here, please.
I can't believe you've linked us to them.
Don't even mention that on here.
That is terrible.
Look what you did to my perfectly reasonable
Is it
question.
ladies
No,
first?
you go first, Super Kev, this time. You go first. Go on, Kev.
What would I be doing? What am I proud of, right?
What are you doing now that you wouldn't have had the opportunity to get involved with that you're most proud of right now?
Well,
that's my comment about Spurs.
On our podcast, obviously.
For me, it goes two ways. For me, is being a football dad to a now professional and a youngster, my youngest boy, who's at 15 turned around and said he wants to make it in football, having just played locally with his friends, having been at clubs when he was tiny, which is one thing. And then the next thing for me is the connecting with Arsenal fans around the world, because for me, I've always been an Arsenal fan from a little boy, was lucky enough to get to Highbury in 1977 and to still be connected, to have played for the club, I've played with the likes of Dicko, who's a proper legend, I class him as a friend. To be able to link with Arsenal fans, and yeah, we've had tough times, haven't we? Things haven't been easy, but to be able to interact, I think that's really important. And we made a pact, I think, on the Highbury squad that we're gonna put ourselves out there during the pandemic. And I think we've brought a lot of people together. We have fans called the Squaddies now, and I think it's really important that we connect with not only the fans, but there's ex-players there who come on and share their opinion, because it's one thing when a fan thinks it, but somebody who's been in the dressing room, and that's why I've got a lot of respect for Lee and Smudger and the guys who do go on the podcast, because it's really important to Arsenal fans to hear what these guys have to say. So that's what I'm so proud of, Tiff.
I've been in the dressing room. I had to pay to get there.
No, you have to pay to get. Were there any players in there, Tiff? Were there any players in there?
Oh no,
just the shirts hanging out.
Just the shirts hanging out.
Yeah,
but I mean, actually, you know what? That's not true. Charlie George was in there with me.
Well, there you go. Legend.
He was there with me as well. How funny
doesn't get much better than that. I mean,
seriously,
so fun.
That's where he lives.
Yeah.
He's always there.
Still hitching.
He lives there.
Yeah.
I guess for me, that's a good answer, Kev. But I was just thinking about all the things you were saying. I think that subconsciously, that still being able to speak to people about the game and people are interested in what you've done and what you can say about it is really heartwarming to know that you've always got. It's like when you play for the club, and I don't think the fans get it. The fans get it, but there's still another layer to go, and the other layer is when you've been a player. I mean, we've come out of it now, and we're fans, so we get to share all the fan bit with you at a distance, because we can always step back out of it and go, yeah, but in fact, we were players. We dip in, I certainly dip in and out of that suits me to be a fan and then a player. And there's different times when you need to put your different hats on, but the ability. What Arsenal's given me is the ability to, as Kevin said, to connect to all those people and share. That's why I went into broadcasting, because I was going to go into coaching, and I thought I needed some time off when I finished playing. It was a little bit institutionalized. I needed to get out of the bubble and go and have a breather. So I thought I'll do a bit of TV first, and then I'll go and do my badges, and then I'll be a coach. And I had the plan. But I enjoyed the sharing bit of broadcasting more than I thought I would. And I thought, you know what? I've just said something And Adrian Childs was a big part of that, because I started Football Focus, and the show that I got to do mostly was Match of the Day 2. And I preferred Match of the Day 2 because, one, it was a little bit less serious and it was a bit more light-hearted. It was on a Sunday and you got to have a laugh with Adrian, and we just messed about and did some serious stuff. And it was our show, so we had a bit of editorial license. We could do certain things, so it was a fun show to do. And I always working with him, because he's football mad and West Brom fan, and he's so passionate about, and so up and so down, glasses half, empty all of the time. And when I was explaining analysis and going through bits and bobs after the game, and he'd be looking at me like that, like, really, hang on a minute, say that again. And I go, well, he did that because you see the fullback's out of position there because he had another player, and he's got blamed for the goal. And it's actually the midfield player who let his man go. And now the fullback's got 2 players to mark. And he was like, hang on. So and then a massive light bulb would go off. This is on air, by the way. We're in the show. We've got a rehearsal. And I'd be talking to him like that. It was like we're in our living room, and he'd go, ping, and he'd get it, and he'd go, I've got it, Dicko. I've got it. And that, to me, was like absolute gold dust, because it meant it's not right or wrong. I don't believe pundits are right or wrong. It's just an opinion that I think he should have done this or should have done that, and it's based on my experience. So if he goes light bulb, it's just like, how cool is that? And that's about anything. If I ask a question to somebody who's in the army about how to change a cartridge on a gun or whatever it is, or some machinery, and they tell me, to share information like that across any walks of life, I think is an amazing human thing that we get to do, and we get paid for it. I mean, how cool is that? We go to watch football matches and get cool. I mean, it's just.
I was going to say it's like when someone speaks another language fluently and you understand about this much of it, so you just stare at their mouth while they're talking, hoping that you'll pick up on what they're saying. That's what I do. Yeah. I can order breakfast in Italy, and that's about it. So
we've officially gone too long without hearing from Rebecca. So Rebecca, I think we go to you for your answer on this.
I think that's a great answer from Dicko, and we have moments like that all the time, whether it's Dicko in commentary or the Robbies or Tim or whoever it is in the set, Danny. Like when I have to play the part of the fan. I have to ask the question that because I never played the game. So when they tell you stuff, you're like, okay, say that on air. So if they tell me that in an advert break, I'm like, okay, say that on air, because that's what people, it's like sharing, and that's what makes it so good. From my perspective, I think the thing I'm kind of, I guess, most proud of, or one of the things I'm most proud of, is that I've managed to create something where I can take other women along. And I know this can be a boring topic a lot of the time, but it's a thing. It's a thing. And I think the thing that gets me more than anything else is at a fan fest or on Instagram, when a parent will come up to me and say, this is my daughter, she wants to do what you do. And then I try and have, chat with her or this is my daughter, she's 18, she's now training to do what you do, or whatever, or can you help her, or if you talk to her, and now she didn't think that she could do it. I mean, people literally say, it's so cliche, but people literally say to me, like, my daughter didn't know that she could do this, and now she does. And you're like, oh my God, I'm making quite a difference. And that's like, what more could you want to actually make a bit of a difference? So to be able to try and force this pathway and break down some barriers and try and get more women through for the right reasons is a big deal.
You're a leader, Rebecca. You're a leader.
Yeah. And you know
this
what?
Is why we love you.
Over here, Rebecca, Alex Scott's doing that as well. Yeah. So both of you, big up, honestly. Super.
I have a 20-year-old daughter who is currently at university for journalism. And, she talks all the time about how, this person and that person. She's more in the news than the sports category. But, she talks about her inspirations all the time. And so I have no doubt that you're having that impact on people. And again, you're now having that impact on people in multiple continents. So,
and Mike, it's not sport and news is pretty much the same. I mean, it has its obvious
telling a story. Yeah.
To be a journalist, you've got to tell the story. You've got to know how to say it, when to say it, what to say. Why, all of those things. So, yeah, it's journalism is journalism at the end of the day. Yeah.
But I love that you're sort of taking us with you as well, like women. You do offer advice and you do stay connected with us. And I think this has got to be at least the 9th show where I've said, I just love Rebecca Lowe. She's just, and everybody says, who's your favorite Robbie? And I say Rebecca Lowe. And do you know, NBC cut that out when I said that. But I did have just one. Yeah.
That's funny.
One follow-up question for Dicko and Kev. Is there ever any, do you feel pressured to sort of limit your criticism as an ex-player when you're broadcasting for an Arsenal match or when you're, discussing the match afterward?
You should ask Rebecca that because she listens to everything I say. So I never. In fact, I'm probably a little bit more critical because I care a little bit more about. I try not to be, but I think.
I know that. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it tends to.
It comes across
that I probably am a little bit not too critical, but just
honest.
It hurts a little bit more when we're so rubbish. Having said that, with there's a long way to go. I think in Arteta's tenure, I really do that. He should be around for a while. Excuse me. He should be given a chance, and so. But we all want him to be best. And when I'm commentating,
Sophie's giving it that look.
No, and I'm giving it that. Yep, we do.
So we so when I am being critical, it comes from the heart, and I'd like to think I was balanced both ways, except when Tottenham are playing, and sometimes I can't help myself.
You're just throwing people up against the wall when that happens.
Tiff, we're going to have to let you go. Thanks so much for joining us. Always good to see you. Great questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye, Tiff.
Around to this pretty soon. Brilliant stuff. All right. Excellent stuff. I want to squeeze one in here before we bring in our next guest, to Rebecca. So, Rebecca, you talk about women, and what I love is you being surrounded by, and in football, we've been trying to work our asses off to get to that point in our careers, and you're surrounded by all these men, but you are the leader, and so many people in chat are asking you about that, but you're also a football fan. How hard is it sometimes to kind of suppress your own feelings as a fan versus when you put your presenter hat on to ask questions from the fan perspective?
Oh, that's a good question.
She doesn't get targeted very much because she's a Palace fan. So.
Okay, all right, keep them coming now, Dicko. Now you've been nice. I don't know if there's much difference, Soph. I think what I try to do is I'm a massive fan, and so I sort of feel like I'm in a decent position to know what, on the whole, what kind of questions the fans want me to ask. So I actually, in a funny way, I don't take one hat off and put the other one on. I try to have the same hat on the whole time. I try to, okay, what do I want to know? Okay, I want to know, why they've dropped off. And then, okay, that's probably what the fans, so I have that little internal conversation the whole time going on. So in that way, it's one conversation. It's one thought process, I would say. I don't think, except when it comes to Palace, which is a bit more of a conscious, okay, do I just want to know that? Or does actually everybody care about that? And that's a bit like what Dicko said. I kind of go the other way sometimes. So if we're going to break and Pierre will say to me, you can go to break with Benteke, or you can go to break with, let's say Chris Wood if they're playing Burnley. And sometimes I'm like, oh, if I go with Benteke, am I a bit... So then I go with Chris Wood just because I just don't ever want to be told I'm, Palace biased. So same thing with questions like, do I just make the whole thing about Palace? Is Palace the story? So that's the only time I find that a little harder to make sure I'm absolutely.
People know you're a Palace fan, don't they? On the show, you don't hide that. Did you see? Did you sense the tension in commentary the other night when we were doing the Leicester game? And I said to Arlo, and I went, did he get any away? There's no away fans in tonight. And then I went, well, there's one. The look he gave me, he went like this. He had his microphone and he went like this, and he went. Like that. And I just went, well,
what is the soup thing with Arlo, by the way? You guys have squabbled more about soup's a big part of my life, so I was just wondering what this whole discussion about halftime.
Well, I'll tell you the soup thing, right? Okay, because he's got the community,
Yes, of
I
course.
still haven't signed up for. Because he's got the community and he does videos all over the place. He took a picture of some soup ages ago. He took a picture and I went to him, "What, you're taking a picture of tomato soup?" And he went, "My community likes to know what soup."
My community. That's worse than my fans. Like,
Yeah.
Stop.
I
Stop.
basically now he has a different soup. Sometimes he double flasks the soup, so he'll have clam chowder in one, and he'll have tomato and basil in the other, and then he'll kind of swap them round.
as long as it doesn't heat it up in a microwave.
Become a bit of a thing, so we just have a bit of a jest about it now.
Too epic, absolutely too epic. We love that stuff. Mike, we've got another special guest to swing in. Why don't you introduce Aston real quick? We've got Rebecca here for another 15 minutes. And then we're going to try and squeeze in Taylor as well from Arsenal Los Angeles right after. So here we go. Aston, welcome to the Highbury squad. Shift over a little bit, Aston. Let's.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, I want to get.
Hi, Aston.
Want to give Aston a quick introduction. Are you going to make the face? Are you going to make the Kevin Campbell face?
Well, I was going to make it for both Lee and Rebecca because I cannot believe I get to be in the same podcast room with these people. Like, this is crazy. Thank you so much, Mike. And actually, funny story, Rebecca, you have a small part to play in why I'm actually here. It was actually a Men in Blazers tweet of a picture of me while I was out protesting for the George Floyd protest that goes viral, that had Aubameyang and Ian Wright retweet, that had the club actually reach out to me directly. So I want to thank you guys for that.
Because you were wearing the shirt. You were wearing
I was wearing my Aubameyang shirt because I always bring my family when I need strength.
Yeah.
Love it, Aston. Love it.
And as a result, he was on Men in Blazers, and then he fell down. He trickled down to us eventually, and and we've actually become close friends. I was down in Florida for personal reasons a couple of weeks ago, and it was the day of the first Arsenal Villarreal game. And as poorly as that went, it was a day of happiness because Aston came down from Orlando, met me. We had a great time. I think by the end of it, I don't know what we were talking about, honestly.
We're not allowed to talk about that game, Mike. That game's rearview mirror.
Kevin
Lee would have it in the rearview mirror, yeah. Aston, go ahead. Ask your questions for Rebecca and Dicko and Super Kev.
Well, the first thing I want to say is, Rebecca, you absolutely are a trailblazer in the way that and I quote my slightly sexist friend, when they first started doing Premier League coverage, the first comment he made was, "Oh, here's a woman presenter." And since then, we now prefer your presentation over Sky Sports. So yeah, huge hats off to you. Like, I think everything that you've done has been fantastic. And I think that you absolutely have created this wonderful platform for fan engagement. On the part of being fans, which, by the way, thank you guys all for engaging with the fans like this. We get that thrown around a lot nowadays, especially with ESL. What does a club represent? What does football mean? What does it mean to be a fan? And what does it mean to be a proper club? What does that mean to you guys in the face of the ESL, in the face of the money ball, the money game? What does it mean to be a proper football club, and what does that represent to you as a fan?
Dicko, you want to take that first?
It's one word for me. One word, and I've said it already. Community, not Arlo's community, but the community to me, the connection between the fan and the man. The fan and the person in the street, the football, whoever that is, whether it's kids, whether it's women, whether it's men, whatever it is, their affiliation to the club, it's that connection. And the fans will never, the fans never really lose that connection because, yeah, they might get disillusioned and not go for a bit, but they'll always end up drifting back. And the clubs know that. They've got the ultimate power to draw fans back in, because it's very hard to give up football. You know, it is addictive. So they've got that hold over the fans, and there's a responsibility for me that goes with that. The fact that they hold the keys to the treasure chest because we're your club, then they have to act responsibly. So the ESL and all of that sort of stuff, we all know the feelings that all football fans had about that, and it was wrong. And it needed to be stopped, and the fans stopped it, basically. So from that point of view, that community now, hopefully we can, moving forward, we can try and include the fans. And I'm not a big advocate of getting fans on the board. I don't think that works. I think it'll just be counterproductive. But there's got to be, like Liverpool are doing, have mentioned, about getting some sort of representation of fans within the club in some form, in some structure. But I think that community needs to be worked on now. I think the clubs have taken it for granted, and the fans have now spoken, and I think it's a real opportunity for all fans and all clubs to get together and bring everybody in. And so that one word sums it all up for me. Without that connection, and without the ability of the fans to go to the games, and the clubs to welcome them in as if they really want them, they just don't want the money. They actually want them like a church with a congregation. They want to go in and be part of it. It's exactly the same for me. So that's the one thing that I would hope builds better and stronger from now on.
Great answer.
Yeah. Should I jump in?
Yeah, I mean,
you go.
I don't even want to go across what Lee said, because I thought it was absolutely brilliant about the connection. We know the connection that a lot of the fans, a lot of the older fans had to people at Highbury. I could only really speak about Arsenal, but the football fraternity is wide. So everyone feels the same way about their club. But I just want to get on about proper club, Aston. When you talk about a proper club, Arsenal are a proper club. But when Arsenal don't do things properly, I think that's what frustrates a lot of us, because we're used to doing things the right way. We're used to being a club who we're not always the best, but you have to have it in your mind to be the best Arsenal you can be. Rebecca's a Palace fan. To be the best Palace they can be. That's all you could ask for as a football fan. But when your club don't do that, it gets frustrating. And that's why the ESL really slapped a lot of us across the face, because it was a total disregard for the fan base, what the fan base actually stand for, what the football club should stand for. And it was just so painful to take. But that has to be healed, and Arsenal, being a proper club, have to have that mentality of trying to be the best. It's going to be difficult. We know that, because there's a lot of clubs who have invested a lot of money and time. But as long as the Arsenal fans are seeing the club trying to do the right things, I think Arsenal fans will accept that.
I know I will.
Rebecca?
Aston, I think you'd be hard pushed to find a club that's not a proper club in England. I think they're all proper clubs, but as Kevin brilliantly put it, they don't always do everything properly. But I would say they're all proper clubs. And two examples for me and it comes back to what Lee said about community, and this is pre-pandemic. I remember tiny things. I remember covering a Leicester game one season. It was around the title, when it might have been before they won the title, and the owners had put given everyone a beer or a hot chocolate and a bag of crisps or a pie or something like that when they get there. And that's like Lee saying, that's like, we want you. We don't just want your money, because we're actually giving you something. And it's that thought process. It's not rocket science. It's like somebody's in an office somewhere going, it'd be really nice, a really nice touch for our fans to kind of engender some more love, would be to do that for them. And then at Palace, Steve Parish, I'm just I thank my lucky stars every day that Steve Parish owns my football club. We home homeless people at Christmas in the lounges, and we cook for them, and we do all these things, and stuff like that is that link that Lee's talking about to the community. It doesn't just have to be, go outreach to kids. It has to be all kinds of outreach, and that makes you a proper club, and not forgetting your fans. And I agree with Lee. I'm not convinced that fans on the board is the right way to go. Just don't forget about them. That's what makes you a proper club. The minute you forget about your fans, you're not proper anymore. But I would say that on the whole, every now and then there's an exception for a period of time when a club just gets above its station or has too much money and forgets the fans. But on the whole, I would say every English club is a proper club.
Outstanding. Well, Aston, it's been great having you on. I hope that you'll stick around and come to part 2. We're going to switch over to our channel at the top of the hour and kind of have a session about how great this hour was. And then after that, we'll have an hour about how great that hour was. But Aston, always good to see you, mate. Hope to talk to you soon. And
anything for you, baby. Anything for you.
Nice one, Aston. Take care.
I don't hear that at home, so it's nice to hear it here on the podcast. So
see you later.
Take care, Aston. I want to take just a very quick minute because we are pushing up against the top of the hour. Part of this whole debut, this special pod today, is to announce the 2021 kickoff of Gooners versus Cancer. You see, I've got the shirt on. And Gooners versus Cancer is just a real passion project for me. My father passed away of leukemia back in 2010. And ever since, I've tried to, raise money, raise awareness for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And in the last few years, with the help of people like Kevin, like Dicko, like Alan Smith, like Arsenal Football Club, and so many, Mike Hernandez, so many generous people, Owen Young, have just donated things. And we've been able to raise $21,000 just last year in the middle of a pandemic where there were so many good causes to raise money from. So that was unbelievable. But we're kicking off this year with a special early bird raffle. So if you go to goonersvcancer.com, you'll see that you can already donate directly to the LLS, to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And anyone who donates before the end of May is entered automatically into a drawing for a team-signed 2020-2021 Arsenal shirt. I know it's hard to see, but it's signed by the entire first team. Comes with a certificate of authenticity and all that. So there is a benefit to donating early because you'll not only be entered in the regular auction, but also the May only early bird auction for that kit. And, while I have you both here, I just want to say thank you to Kevin and Lee, because you've both been so helpful to our cause of raising money over the last few years. And I hope I'll be able to call on you again this year. So,
of course,
brilliant. Brilliant, Magic Mike. You've done amazing, absolutely amazing. And the Highbury squad is here to support this throughout the summer. We've got some stuff lined up. It's going to be great. Right, before we lose Bex and Dicko and Super Kev, hold on. I've got to bring in the Arsenal Los Angeles guys. Got to bring in MK and Taylor. Hi, MK. Hi, Taylor. How you guys doing?
Good. Hello, baby. Hello.
LA, baby.
Taylor, MK, hello.
You know that game where people ask you if you could have dinner with 3 people, who would you choose? I feel like I'm playing that game.
So it'd be Amanda, Sophie, and I?
That's right.
Exactly. It's always us, isn't
it? Jump in, guys, real quick, because Rebecca's going to have to duck out, and so jump in with your questions right away.
MK, you do it.
Okay. First of all, thank you for making time for all the fans today. This is a really special opportunity and really appreciate it. My question would be basically, what has surprised you over the years with American fans, or a moment that you've interacted with American fans? What has surprised you most, especially as the sport has grown here over the past decade? And if you don't have an answer for that, what was one of your most memorable experiences with the American fan community? Thanks.
Thanks for the question. No, I do have a couple of answers for that. I think the first thing that surprised me is when I first moved here, I knew that there would be the odd person that would know about football. I did not realize quite how many people, quite the depth. I would say, and I say this all the time, I would put up all American Premier League fans up against English Premier League fans, and they probably beat them in all the trivia and all that, because when you're an American Premier League fan, you have to double down. You have to learn the history of your club. It doesn't just seep into you from your dad or from the local paper growing up. You have to really make an effort. And so by making that effort, you become super knowledgeable, super attached, super committed. So that's my first one. The other thing, which I don't really surprises me, but that's only because I come from England. When you're at a fan fest, nobody fights. It's amazing. I remember standing in Boston and looking out at this sea of people, and there was a Chelsea fan, Liverpool fan, Man United fan next to each other, and I'm looking at them all, and they're all chatting away, and they're all like pals. And I'm like, this is weird. You could not do that. As you know, in England, you have a Liverpool pub and a Chelsea pub, and you don't go near each other. In fact, there's like great swathes of seats separated with nobody in them to ensure that no one starts a massive ruckus in the stadium. So.
And you had Seamus there, so how were there not more fights? I mean, you had Seamus.
Well, I know. Well, he was surfing all over everyone's heads, and we were all like knackered. No, I just think that's never spoken about. You know, it's partly because obviously the culture in this country is different generally. With sport is like an event to celebrate in America. In England, it's tribal, and there's a difference. And so when you bring some tribalism into the celebration. In this country, you get the perfect mix where people can be adult and can just stand there, and Tottenham and Arsenal fans can chat, and they can chant back and forth, but no one's ever going to punch you. And I just remember looking at this and thinking, this is what life should be like. This is lovely.
There's a little bit of punching that happens. This is just a little bit of punching.
I'm okay with 1 or 2. It's okay.
Jason punching, but yeah.
Lee, what's it meant to you, mate?
Well, I have to tell this story because I've been going to Los Angeles for quite a few years. I met my second wife, who's living in LA. When I met her, I met her in London. Where do you live? And she was English, and she was, I live in LA. And I was like, wow, I'd never even been to LA. So I was like, I'll come over and see you. And I went to LA, and I fell in love with that West Coast vibe and all of that stuff. And it was like, wow. And we got together, and we ended up getting married, and we bought a little house, a little apartment in Santa Monica. So she moved to England because I've got kids over here. And life story, I won't be a sec. And then we kept a little apartment in Santa Monica. And when the Premier League started, and I say when the Premier League started, when Fox had the Premier League, I obviously knew it was on, but I had no interest in it because I wasn't working in an American TV then. And then I started working for NBC, and it was like, it's just brilliant because I got to broadcast to all these people I'd met in LA and all that. So, and I remember being over there a couple of years after we'd been broadcasting, and I was walking down 3rd Street in Santa Monica, and I was walking down the road doing some shopping or whatever, and these 2 guys were walking towards me, and as they got close, because I'm always on Kev will tell you, the radar on. You're always like checking people out to see whether you're in trouble. You've got to go in a different direction. They're Tottenham fans and all the Chelsea. So you're always checking everybody out. You check them. You see where they're looking at. And I saw this guy look at me, and I saw, all right, I've clocked him on the radar, Kev. You know how it is.
Yep.
I've clocked it. And as he's got closer in this American LA accent, which I can't do, he goes, all right, Dicko, in this American accent. And I've kind of looked at him, and it seemed weird him saying that and being American. But his mate next to him was English, and he went, who the hell's that? The English guy didn't know who it was, but the American guy just clocked me straight away. And I think that sums up what we do in England and how important it is for us to broadcast to you guys. And the level, as Rebecca said, the level of expertise and knowledge that you have about the game is just brilliant. And when we first did commentary, I said to my boss, when he straight away just went, we want you to do the commentary like you would to the English audience. Just deliver what you would deliver. Don't dumb it down. Don't explain things differently, just because you're talking to a different audience. And I think the one thing that the show does and what we've done is I think you get the authenticity of what we're talking about, as opposed to it being, we're talking to a lesser knowledgeable audience, which we're certainly not. So I think that's one great thing about working for the NBC.
It's very
brilliant stuff. We have to let the legend that is Rebecca Lowe go. But if Lee and Kevin can hang on for just a minute to answer a couple more questions from Taylor and MK, that would be great. Rebecca, you have been absolutely epic. The listeners, the squaddies in chat have absolutely loved you. Thank you so much for spending time that is your off time this week with us. We so appreciate it, man.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you guys. Taylor, MK, thank you. All of you, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Sophie, I love you anytime. Thank you.
Love you, mate.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so Super Kevin and Dicko, you okay for 5 more extra minutes because Taylor wants to get his question in as well, and they may have one more, and I know PG had one too. So fire away, Taylor.
So I'll make it.
Yeah, fire away, man. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make it really quick. So I was a teacher for years, and you know how many hours we spend working, and the both of you spend countless hours working. And, there are moments that are pretty defining for us as professionals in any career that we have. And they're moments that we don't really get to talk about, or moments that we get asked about, really. And I'm wondering if the two of you could think on one that you remember fondly, but maybe never really get to share. And then after that, I have a selfish question for Lee, but I'll wait till the end.
I'll answer that one because it's about, one of them is about Lee. Because don't forget, when when George Graham came to Arsenal, we had Viv Anderson at right back, who was England international. We had Kenny Sansom at Arsenal, who was England international left back. You know, the back four was totally different to what George Graham wanted to do. The first person he brought in at the back there was Nigel Winterburn. Nigel Winterburn was playing right back as a left footer. And then I particularly remember, obviously, Kenny Sansom fell foul of George Graham. And George Graham bought Lee Dixon and Steve Bold to come to the club. And you know, when there's defining moments, because obviously Lee came from Stoke with Boldy, all hungry players who want to do well. But that gave the team more impetus. And as a youngster, I was always kind of in and around it. I wasn't part of the first team squad at the time, but I was always asked to come over to play against that back four and midfield at the time, Lee.
Yeah.
And obviously I'd played against the others and I played against these guys, and these guys were just, as a unit, were another level. So maybe that's not what a lot of fans actually realize, how good these guys were. And, you know, coming from a Stoke, Arsenal fans probably were thinking, oh, you know, who's this from Stoke? But these guys were incredible. And as it was proven, these guys were the mainstay and the foundation and the rock of Arsenal Football Club for so many years. And it's something that you could put your mortgage on, these guys at the back. So that was a big change that I saw at Arsenal.
We'll be signing a striker from Stoke in a few years, I hope.
Hey, you never know. You just never know, Mike.
And don't worry, Kev, I won't boo him from the East End, that's for sure.
Yes, you will.
Rubbish, the other Campbell.
Well, rubbish you are.
Oh, rubbish. Yeah. Oh,
get on the side, Campbell.
I think I'd just like to add a little bit onto that. Kev's talking about a department in the team that was drilled every single day by George Graham, but that department was no good if we didn't put the ball in the net. So it swings both ways. All we were doing was doing our job, and you know, I think a lot said about footballers these days about, oh, didn't he do this well? Didn't he do that well? And you'll hear Roy Keane, and you'll probably hear me say it. You know, they're just doing. They should do that because it's their job. So if you were doing, you know, teaching, or you weren't doing your job particularly well, and then you did something well, and he goes, oh, Taylor did that well. Well, it's your job. Just do it. Do it to the best of your ability. But, you know, extraordinary feats that maybe need extra praise, yes. But I think that's what we did. And I think the rest of the team did their job. The midfield was protective. The strikers like Kev came in. And let me tell you, when he used to get dragged over from the youth team to play against us, we knew about it. So we'd look over and go, oh, Campbell's coming over. Gee, like one of them. Because you knew you were in for a little one of them and a little push. I mean, he's so strong. Look at the size of him. And also a brilliant tactician, although he might not look at himself as that. But he was, for me, he played in front of me a lot, especially when we played in Europe. We changed the system a little bit and had a 3, and he was always in front of me. And he was one of the few players, because he'll tell you that I was a bit gobby on the pitch about moving players around. Moving players around, because if I could move somebody with my voice, it meant that I didn't have to move my legs and I could save my energy. So I would get the person in front to move and be in the right position. Never had to say anything to him. Didn't say anything to him because he always knew where he should be, and that's a tactician. You know, that's the ability to be able to be in the right position and learn. You'd only have to tell him once, say, Kev, I need you to do this, and he'd go, right, log that. And the ball's there, Lee's there, the back four's there. I'm standing on this bit of grass, and he did it every time. And he was one of the easiest guys that I played with. Him and David Rocastle was the same. And if I can put Kev in the same bracket as Dave Rocastle, that tells you exactly what I feel about Kevin Campbell, because it's one of the most underrated players I've ever played with, and a pleasure to play behind. So it was a team effort, and our department just so happened to keep the ball out of the net, but they did the other side of it. The most difficult side is to put the ball in the net. So he's still wearing that jacket though. I consider.
Oh my God.
To put it up one more time.
I still got it. What are you talking about?
In my book, a comparison to David Rocastle is about the highest praise you can get. So
100%. Hey,
Taylor,
one thing I will say is Dicko did say one thing to me quite a bit, because Dicko never really stopped on the pitch. He always used to say, "Piss off up the pitch. I don't want you sat on my toes. I want you up there." Because he wanted me to stop the ball going to his man. He didn't want me to mark his man. He wanted me to stop the ball at source. So, which made it even better for me, because as a striker, but playing out there, all I need to do is zero in on the fullback most of the time. So, good information.
Outstanding.
Brilliant.
Taylor, you had another. You had a
just really
quickly.
So my brother who's watching this, one of the things we do is play FIFA. We've been doing it for years. It's how we bond. He lives in New York. I live here. He always tells me I'm bad at FIFA constantly. Lee, could you tell me I'm good at FIFA?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Taylor, I've seen some of your videos of you playing FIFA, and you're a very good player.
Brilliant.
We'll clip that. We'll send that to you.
Send that to your brother. Yeah.
That's it. You've made his life now, Lee.
Brilliant.
Well, that's like when my son had his
MK,
friends
did
over.
you have one last thing you wanted to say to the lads?
I'm bad at FIFA, so I'm terrible.
Me too. Terrible.
So bad. I'd rather play in real life.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Well, look, Arsenal Los
Love you
Angeles,
guys. Thank
MK, Taylor, you guys rock. You've always been so supportive of our show, and keep up the great work that you're doing in SoCal. We adore you guys, and we'll see you for round 2 of this. I'm sure Dicko and Super Kev and Bex will come back for a round 2 someday soon.
Definitely.
Take care. Take care.
you.
Hey, Taylor, see you. Bye.
Love you guys.
Thanks, guys. Brilliant.
Wow.
Amanda, you get to ask your question
I
now.
know, but it was actually to Rebecca, but I had one for these two as well. No, I've got for you two. So, Lee, my little brother down here causes loads and loads of mischief on the podcast. Every show he's on. What was he like in the changing rooms? I want gossip.
What was he like in the changing rooms? Well, he wasn't what it. Obviously, he got a few louder voices in him. You got Ian Wright knocking about. No one gets a word in edgeways with Wright here around, anyway.
You know that. Tell him, Lee.
Yeah, you know, right.
As much as we'd like to have been, top of the list for talking and banter, it was right. He'd take most of it. But Kev, and I'm not being funny. Kev used to hold his own. I always used to look up to Kev, even though I was a lot older than him, based on the fact he seemed huge. I don't know whether. We know each other from a long time, but I don't know Kev intimately, as in, mates going on a regular basis, because he was from a different world than I was from. I was from the north, come down to his club. He's a Brixton lad who was, Arsenal was in his blood. I had to learn all of that. So even the younger players like Michael Thomas and Dave Rocastle, all I wanted to do was, when I got to the club, was to be like them, where the club meant so much. And the club had a huge amount of traditions that have, sadly, quite a lot of them have drifted away now. But we were, I learned off Kev about who you are, what you are, and who you represent, all of that sort of stuff, and how to wear, always have your tie done up when you get off the coach, all of those things that I then passed on. So I looked up to him in that respect. And so, you're watching every move he makes just to try and be an Arsenal player. And it takes time. You don't just come in and go, "Oh, I love this club," and then all of a sudden you're good. Yeah. You have to learn the ropes, and you have to get into your psyche. So the likes of Paul Davis was another one. I'd look at Davo and I'd be like, "Wow, he absolutely eats, lives, and breathes this club," and I want to be like that. So I've got a huge amount of respect for them. So Kevin, the dressing room was, he was up there with them. I was always, and Kev's probably one of the best dancers I've ever seen in my life. So he's got
he's got moves.
He's the exact opposite of me. He always dressed well. He's always got his dancing gear on. Whenever we went out after a game and we won a game, Kev would be bang on the dance floor straight away, and me and Baldy be at the bar because we're
Northerners.
But here's the thing, Amanda. This is what you probably remember. Me and Lee always used to go out to warm up first.
Yeah.
Always. Lee first, I'm behind him. And that was
the game.
Consummate professionals.
It was a thing because we used to get people who sign for the club and they come in their first game, they start to go to the door to go for a warm up, and a few of the lads would be like, "Whoa, what are you doing?
Whoa, where you going? Get back,
get back in."
My minder would be behind me, like making sure that nobody else was coming out. We'd go out first, and then we got out there, and then then the lads could come out, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could trickle out after that, but it was always that to be Lee, then me. That was it.
Brilliant.
I love it.
Oh,
well, listen, this has been absolutely brilliant. It's been such a great podcast. I've one thing I wanted to show as well, because I mean, this is when my hair was really dodgy, but this is me and Lee in Russia during the World Cup. I'm not sure if he remembers this night, but it was at the hotel where everyone was staying, all the broadcasters, and I bought Righty and Lee and Clattenburg. I don't know why I bought him a drink, for crying out loud. And Martin O'Neill.
I do remember that.
I don't think you can forget the hair, to be honest.
No, the hair. It's a bit dodgy. I mean, look.
I've got dodgy. I look like I've got a toupee on.
It's the lights, Nico. It's the lights.
It's the lights. What a great tournament that was, covering that and being there. Brilliant, that was incredible. Yeah, it was great. Well, listen, you've been epic. Super Kev's been epic. Mike, you have been epic helping us put this together. And Gooners versus Cancer, we're going to be doing a lot of that stuff. We're going to go over to your podcast now. Tell everyone how, why, when, and where the link is. And...
I've never been able to explain why you would go to our podcast, but except for the great people on it. So yeah, we're going to switch channels. All you have to do, if you're watching and you want to join the chat, it's going to be kind of like a post game, a recap. We're going to bring back on some of the people that popped in to ask questions and just kind of have a free-form chat. All you have to do to get there is go to part2.football. Trust me, that's a web link, www.part2.football, and you'll go right into our podcast. Of course, you can also find it if you go to the Gooners podcast on YouTube, but this is quicker. And you never know who might be coming over. So hopefully you'll join us there. And thanks for letting me talk about Gooners versus Cancer. Lee, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate you responding and joining us today and being the special guest. Anytime? You sure?
Anytime. I just won't reply to your email if you
okay. But this has been great. Epic. Rebecca was total class tonight, and it was just great to have everyone together.
Brilliant stuff. And Super Kev, Dicko, Amanda, Mike, great stuff. The people in chat, PG, are asking for Dicko to do the Always Arsenal tonight. I'm
giving it away tonight. It's actually going to be Mike that does it, but I think Dicko
I don't do it when we have Lee Dixon on the podcast.
No,
I do it when there's...
I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing?
Just say Always Arsenal. Just say Always Arsenal.
No, not like that, Mike.
Not like that.
Your team's cool.
How do I say it? What do you want to say?
I say it like this, Lee. Always Arsenal. I'd give it something like so. If you,
me and Kev do this.
You just say, do it the way you want to do it. Always Arsenal.
When we finish, Lee. Yeah.
When am I going to do it now?
Yeah, we are. We want to thank everyone for watching this fantastic show brought by us and the Gooners podcast. Come and join us for part 2. Now over to Lee.
Always Arsenal.